And we are rolling. And today, Anthony, we are talking about dropping old behaviors, changing old behaviors, dropping bad habits, however you want to put it. We're talking about changing who you are, hopefully improving who you are. So you're Anthony, I'm Zac, and we're talking about being better fathers. And you know what a big part of that is having better habits or replacing poor habits with better habits. Because not everybody's going to start out great. I've had to change some things. I'm sure you had to change some things. But let's just dive right into a few of the habits you're commonly running into or you're working with men about. I'll share the same and let's see if there's any overlap.
Yeah, I mean, habits, behaviors, like you said, whatever you want to call them. Um, for me, I think it's a constant. I don't want to say struggle, but it's a constant thing that I deal with on a day to day with myself. Right, there's always things that I'm looking to change and improve. One thing that I see a lot with fathers, a lot of guys that I talk to, there's this constant habit or behavior that they are constantly controlling or imposing their will on their kids. And it doesn't sound bad if you're the parent. It's really bad if you're the kid, right? If you're on the receiving end of this, it's horrible. And like any behavior or any habit that we want to change, we ultimately, the goal is to do what's good for you. Like I have habits. I smoke cigars, which I know I shouldn't. I try not to smoke too many, but it's a bad habit that I've picked up, and hopefully one day I'll beat that habit, or it won't take so much of my time up or control of me even talking about it. But with fathers, it's the same thing, right? If we're constantly creating bad habits, bad behaviors in ourselves, we do need to change those. We need to fix them. We need to see why they're there. We need to examine our own life, right? We really need to take a look at ourselves and say, why am I behaving this way? Why am I doing these things? I know they're not good. I know they're not good for me. I know they're not good for my children. And I think once that level of awareness is raised, then we can start finding ways to create better habits. It's because it's tough, right? You can't just say, listen, if you're smoking crystal meth every day and somebody says, just put the crystal meth away and problem solved. There's reasons why you turn to that substance. Same thing, like there's reasons why you mistreat your kids. So that is a behavior, right? It's an undesired behavior. It's actually a unpreferred behavior because nobody wants it. Your kids don't want you to be an asshole to them. They don't want you to be over controlling. They don't want you to be mean. They don't want you to be strict. Um, and a lot of dads have a hard time wrapping their head around that, right? They parent from fear. They parent from, well, if I don't treat them this way, they're never going to learn. And to take a look at yourself and say, all right, well, if we want our kids to learn, what do we need to do? What good habits do we need to show them? Right? It's you bring out a book and you say, my kid's going to be smart. He's going to read books. If you don't read that book, no TV tonight. Nothing's learned, right? All your kid learns is to hate you. If you want to create those good habits, read books yourself, right? Show them the example. Um, then engage with them, right? Sit down this is something you can start when they're young. Read a book to your child when they're a baby, when they're a toddler. Keep these good habits going, right? Grow them within your kids. And I think a lot of, those small seeds you plant, those will show up later on in life when they are faced with things that might be more troubling or even more difficult habits to break.
You know what's rough when people come onto this channel? It's that they come on here and we take a book and beat them in the head. Like, I'm hearing what you're saying, bro. And all I'm thinking about is the dude who's like, fuck, another thing I have to, like, now I can't have cigars. I can't do this. Fatherhood sucks. That's not what it is at all.
Yeah.
But we have to
Good.
look at
Clarify it, please.
while we're doing the things we're doing, why we do them. And here's the thing. A lot of poor behavior is socially accepted. Let's start with the blanket. Hitting your kids. Nobody's going to check you. That's normal. Hit them. That'll make them disciplined. It's not true. It's factually wrong, but it's socially accepted. So you don't think it's bad. Cigars, I enjoy cigars. But here's another one that I had to change, and so we're talking about changing behaviors. I like the one you were saying about just defaulting to checking a child to do things you're not doing. That's a good one. When it comes to some, it's literal addictions. And this this is not about just addictive substances, but we've now talked about crystal meth, and I'm going to talk about booze. It is socially accepted to go party, get crazy at like a barbecue, get crazy at a cookout, get crazy at whatever, you're hosting a New Year's party, whatever. And for your kids to see that, that's normal. That's accepted. I know, and I was a part of the crew that would go, we would party. The kids would be, playing in their room, and we'd be in the kitchen taking shots and counting the ball down and doing these crazy things. And that was normal. The kids go play in the basement. They go play in like the trampoline. They go do whatever they do. We come in here and the adults are playing, like adults play. Booze is flowing, whatever. And I realized nobody was going to fix this. Nobody was going to tell me, hey, Zac, that's not the right thing to do. Nobody's going to say, hey, what are your kids learning when they see that you have alcohol at funerals, weddings, births, anniversaries, birthdays, holidays? You're happy, you drink. You're sad, you drink. You're stressed, you drink. You're excited, you drink. You made alcohol a part of everything that you do. What are your kids seeing? And I came to that realization by myself. I was the one who's like, oh, shit, I should be better than this. But it's socially accepted. So why is it a bad behavior? Well, because this isn't about what you will tolerate. This is about what's best for my children. What behaviors can I change that will make my kids better, or make my relationship with my children better, or in the case with alcohol, make my relationship with myself better? I did that for me. Now I can say I'm a better father because of it. You could say dropping the cigars, that would show your kids, hey, don't consume tobacco, keep your body optimized as best you can. If you're smoking crystal meth, hey, it's a great weight loss, but you don't have any teeth. There's a lot of things that people socially accept, but how are you feeling good about yourself when you're yelling at your kid all the time? And that's the bigger thing. There are areas of behaviors that are poor with your relationship with you. And so when it comes to changing those behaviors, if you're a dad, who's addicted to food, and you realize you can't go to the pool with your kids without wearing a t-shirt, or maybe the other kids are making fun of your kids because of how big you are, or even worse, because of the way you eat, your kids are also bigger because that's how they eat. And now they're getting ridiculed. Instead of thinking, well, it's okay, you can't fat shame me. It's not your fault. It's just the way you look. You could take that objective look and say, you know what? If I were to improve my physique and help my relationship with food improve, that would also improve my relationship with my child, which would help their relationship with food. And now they're going to get healthier. I'm going to get healthier. It's exactly what you said with the book. You have to live that, though. You've got to come to terms with you. Like, shit, my kid is dumb as a rock because he doesn't know how to fucking read because he's never seen me pick up a book. You can't point the kid and, hey, you're dumb. I'm an adult. I learned how to read. Yeah, but what'd you do with that? You brought a child into the world, never showed them that that's what you did. And they didn't know you as a kid. Your father taught you. Somebody taught you along the way. You saw it somewhere like, what, this is probably good. I should do this thing. If you want your kids to have healthier habits or healthy relationships with alcohol, tobacco, food, whatever, you have to control it. You have to show them, why do you do the things you do the way you do them? Or in my case, just outright remove it. For my kids, they're probably these little judgmental, little dude and lady too. Because when they see people get crazy because they drank too much, they're like, ew, that's gross. Because we've talked about it, we don't get sloppy. My kids, they'll probably have like a few blurred memories because they were young. But today, I'm 600 days sober. Nice. They're going to see me from 600 days ago and then to the rest of my life that I'll never be sloppy in front of them. And I did. And that's embarrassing, dude. But it's embarrassing to admit. There were times, where I would like fall asleep on the front seat on the way home. And Jack would bring them in, come out and get me out of the car. Like, hey, wake up. It's time to go in.
Oh,
like
the passenger seat.
I wasn't driving. Just blacked out. We're good. No, man. And it's that while that bothers me.
Seatbelts on. Dad's about to pass out.
Hang on, guys. We're going for a ride. But it's like, dude, people carry on. People keep doing that. And it's, like I said, it's not just booze. I know the thumbnail. It's got the wine glass and the hand over it. But this is food. This is anger. A lot of dads are addicted to certain behaviors, and it's not a good model for their kids. And so now that we've addressed that, some ways to change it. It's not always abstinence. I'm in your boat with cigars. I'm not a big smoker. I do take pride in my health, but that's something I do. And I've told my kids, they're like, those aren't good for you. I was like, I know, but every now and then it's like people have soda. I don't like soda, but some people do. And every now and then they'll have a soda as just like that little fix. And so as people, we're going to have things that we're not perfect animals. We don't have to be for our kids either. But we do have to ensure that the things we're doing aren't destructive to that relationship. And those are the behaviors you absolutely have to change.
Yeah, no, you it's either sink or swim. Um, and this is difficult, man, because like you were saying before, the societal influence. If you really look at things honestly, alcohol is far more dangerous than crystal meth. And
See,
I know
by a
that's
lot. No,
well,
by a lot.
yeah. I mean, if you smoke crystal meth, you're not going to lose all your teeth. Um, but even if you take another extreme drug like cocaine, and I
How
don't
do
want
you
to
know
veer,
that?
I've read about it.
Okay.
No, there's actually a really good book about drug use and a long 20-year study. Um, but if you take a hard substance like a narcotic like cocaine, I can't see.
It's Drug Use for Grown-Ups by Dr.
Yeah,
Carl Hart.
definitely. Um, what's socially acceptable is really ruining people's lives. If we look at cigarette smoking, right, that's killing so many people every year. Um, Same thing with alcohol. So I just wanted to point that out. That right, there's things where you can't always go by what is the norm, what society tells you. I mean, you shouldn't be going by that anyway in the current political climate. What's going on with the world? Don't believe the information they're feeding you. But you do need to evaluate and assess what you're doing, right? I have bad habits that I'm always trying to improve. There's things I'm always trying to be better, um, and I think you can't hide from them, but you also have to acknowledge that we all have faults. So if you're a father and there's things that you're going through, that you're trying to improve, that's part of the process, right? Just keep going forward, keep getting better, and element of shame comes into that, element of disappointment, and those are the things that'll bury you even further. But
Or what
to
about hidden regret? What about the people who, if you admit it, now you're gonna have regret for all those years where you did it, and so
yeah,
it's easier to just not address it.
yeah, avoid it. Absolutely. No, but I mean, so to change all behaviors or bad behaviors, bad habits, I believe a lot of that starts with yourself, right? A lot of that starts from having good self esteem and actually really understanding what self esteem is, right? Really working on it to feel good about yourself, not because you need acceptance from others, not because other people are setting standards that you should live by, but because you can actually wake up, you can feel good about your life, what you're doing. Everything doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be in an exact spot, but you actually have dreams, you have goals of what you want to accomplish, who you want to become. And I think once that is built up, that's when you can drop bad habits, right? That's when you don't need things to maybe ease the pain or to compensate for feeling of being overwhelmed or stressed out all the time. And that's a tough spot to be, man. I've battled through that my whole life with different things from a teenager to an adult. Um, but more importantly, to bring it back to fatherhood, you know, we do get caught in those bad habits, whether we'll go to spanking. And a lot of times we spank because our kids misbehave. And we justify it by saying because it worked, right? Our kids listen now. We physically hit them and they listen. But the problem with that is I'm not going to say it's an addiction, but you have to keep doing it over and over and over again. Right? It doesn't solve the problem, the issue. The kid doesn't say, "Oh, I get it now. I can't hit my sister because if I do, my dad hits me." He's going to hit his sister when you're not around, when you're not looking. They didn't learn anything. So those are why these behaviors need to change, right? We want to model, just like we want to model healthy behaviors with our kid, good eating habits. We want to model mature and appropriate behaviors in our parenting. So our kids see that and they live it and they feel it. And they say, hey, you know what? My dad, he's got good parenting behaviors, right? He's modeling how I want to parent my kids. And that's how these cycles of pain and trauma get disrupted. This is how they disappear over time. So I think it's important to be aware of that.
That awareness is key, but you also have to be aware of the fact that you have literally every reason in the world to address this. you have every reason to be your best self because you got those little eyes looking at you as to what am I supposed to do as an adult. They're always watching you. They're always modeling the behavior off of you. Again, I say it probably every episode and every other tweet. They follow your example, not your advice. If you're angry, why are you surprised your kid's angry? If you're hitting your kid, why are you surprised your kid's getting into fights? If you're constantly drinking because that makes you happy or whatever, and your kids see, hey, my dad's happier when he drinks, why are you surprised they're sneaking booze earlier than possibly you did? Why are we so surprised that, oh, my kid was caught at the high school smoking cigarettes? Bro, you smoke cigarettes. If my kid he's caught smoking a cigar, I'm not going to be like, come down to him like, hey, what was it? Was it good? All right. So here's why you got to be really careful about that. There is an addictive nature. It's not the best for you, but I'm not going to come down hard on the kid for doing something I do. Again, that double standard. Well, you're an adult. You're an adult showing the example. You're a father showing the example. Why do you get a pass? Well, I live longer. The fuck does that matter? You're trying to raise them to be better than you. So fucking be better. Like I grabbed those books. I'm actually gonna bring it back up. I grabbed the book. It's High Price by Dr. Carl Hart.
Yeah.
And then Drug Use for Grown-Ups by Dr. Carl Hart. Why? Because I want to better understand myself. I want to better understand our society. I invest in my growth. And for a lot of men, your poor behaviors, if you read about them, I'm not going to say it alleviates you of the responsibility, but you better understand yourself. When I read about booze, well, think about this, man. I didn't know that alcohol is the second most addictive substance out there. I think heroin's number one. I had no idea. Alcohol is the level 1 carcinogen. I'm not going to go on this soapbox about booze, but I didn't know any of these things when I was drinking. After I learned, I'm like, hell yeah, this is why I don't do that anymore. And now I'm armed with knowledge to educate my kids. Dad, why don't you drink? Well, not only was it not good for me, but I learned blah, 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 blah. And I explained that to them. Well, Dad, why don't we sit here and eat bonbons and all? My kids, they told me this. We went by the Debbie snack, like how they put them in the middle of the aisles at the supermarket.
Yeah.
They're like, we've never had these. Like, these look gross. My kids have never had a devil dog. They've never had those little cookies with the cream filling in the middle. They don't know what the fuck a Twinkie is. They might have had a Twinkie. They've had like a Peep or some shit like that, but we don't eat that. And for some families, that's all they eat. And for you to say, hey, well, we're getting healthier, you have to understand that that's going to feel like punishment to them because you had an insight, because you had an awareness as a man. That doesn't mean your kids did. So to me, one of the best approaches for changing your behavior is to really change it, stick with it, and understand it before you come down with the hammer on the family. I would ensure that you're not going to also false start. All right, guys, we're eating healthier. Throw all the shit away. All right, it's Friday. Let's get some pizza. Well, Dad, you just threw all of our shit away. You're like, what is this? And now you're inconsistency. Now they're saying that you're not a man of your word. It's just a bad look. But if you can log 2, 3, 4 weeks of not snacking, and you're reading about, what sugar can do to you, what obesity, the impacts that can have on you, you arm yourself with this knowledge. Now, not only do you have the habits, you have the wisdom, you know why you're doing the things you're doing. And so when you start to talk to your family about it, they'll probably change just watching you. But the longer you're doing it and the more answers you have, that's like bullets in a gun. It's more shots you could take at the targets that they're holding up saying, well, what about this? Pow. I learned about that. Well, what about this? Pow. If you're like, I don't know, they're going to say, then why the fuck are we doing it? You don't know why we're doing what we're doing. You don't know why you're changing your behaviors. And so I think that's a great element to this as well, is that you need to know why you do or no longer do a thing. Because again, these kids are going to ask you. You are their source of knowledge. You are the most intelligent, for younger kids, let's say 10 and below. You are the most intelligent resource to them. As they get older, now they're being influenced by their friends. Now they're being influenced by teachers. Now they're being influenced by mainstream media. If you want to get them as soon as you can, you got to fix yourself as soon as you can. But you're never too late at the same time.
No, those behaviors, right? Those good habits have to start early. Absolutely. Because they're so hard to break later on in life. Not that it can't be done, but, I know with my kids, the same with you, man. We stopped eating crappy food probably 10 years ago, more than 10. I don't even know. I couldn't even tell you. Like I don't have fast food. And it's nothing like we don't miss it. We don't crave it. We don't want it. We just created this habit. And that's who we are, right? We eat good food because we care about ourselves. We want to be strong. We want to be healthy. We want to feel good.
I can attest to that. Your family made a great dinner when I came to visit, and it was fantastic. Y'all are eating very well in the
We
Miglorino
want
house.
absolutely, man, but we want to feel well, and I think, like I was saying before, it's hard to break old habits, right? A lot of people struggle with it, but if you just take the small steps, right, one step at a time, you build up that fortitude, you build up that strength to make it where it doesn't even have control of you anymore. And I think those are things that will show up in your life and your family all the time, right? No matter what it is, whether it's, with what you're putting into your body, right? If you have a bad habit of putting too much bad food, processed food, fast food, if it's smoking cigarettes or even, drugs, um, we have to be aware of what we're putting in our body. We really have to think hard about if this is good for us, if this is for our well-being. But what I'm saying is when you do, those habits take shape. And then now you have things that you replace them with. And the one example I want to give is there's a lot of parents who restrict things from their kids as far as eating, right? They won't give them treats, they won't let them have candy. And those kids become obsessive over it, right? They
Yep.
want it because they've never had it. Those aren't good habits. That's restriction. So I don't know if you said it earlier, but when you want to break a habit, sometimes you can't just restrict it from your life and the problem's solved. You actually have to understand, like you said about alcohol, you informed yourself about it, you became knowledgeable, and you're like, oh man, I didn't know that. Now I do. I'm
Yep.
cutting it out of my life. And I think that's important to note with our kids, even when they're young, they still can learn those pieces of advice, right? They can still understand that. Um, if you tell a kid, yeah, sugar's not good for us, so let's say you tell it. I went through this with my nephew, 3-year-old. Oh, we don't want to eat sugar before dinner. Why? Oh, sugar's not good for you. Why? I literally had probably 500 whys thrown at me, and I had to give a different answer that was coherent, respectful, and honest to him so he could understand. I mean, it took probably like 6 hours, but he finally got it. He was like, all right, thanks, Uncle Ant. But that, to me, that's, the same way that I had to create a habit of patience to explain that to him. He understood now. So hopefully he'll create good habits. And I think that's important. The creating a habit of patience. As a father, when your kids are asking you things, when they're talking, be patient. Learn that, right? Learn how to listen. Learn how to respond where you're not intrusive or you're not offending them. And that is going to create good habits in communication. That is going to allow your child to open up to you. That is going to allow your child, when they do have a bad habit, if they are smoking crystal meth, they're going to come to you and say, hey, Dad, I've been feeling really weird over the weekends. I'm smoking this rock. All right, here's what we're going to do, right? You could be part of the solution. But no, it really is, man. You have to have patience, listen, and you have to be open with your kids. That's a great habit to learn.
And I think something we need to look at as well is, well, which habits are ones I need to replace? How do you know if it's not a good habit?
Yeah.
A great metric, a fantastic objective metric is, do you do something that your kids would be embarrassed of if they brought somebody over? And I did not do this, so I'm going to give an example with booze, but this is not a personal example. But if you're one of those dudes who gets angry when you drink, like I was a party animal, I was happy. But if you are the ones who my dad's great until he gets home and then all of a sudden 3 drinks in, he's screaming at whoever he can see. If that's you, if your kids are like, don't sleep at my house. You do not sleep at my house the weekends. I'll sleep at your house. That's a problem. If your kids are like, hey, come over, but we can't go out. I don't like to go out with my dad because we got to park close to the store because he's so big he can't walk to the store, or we can't do this, or he won't come out and play with us. That's a problem.
Yeah.
The way I look at it is through the child's eyes. They're so honest, but they won't tell you the things that hurt them because they don't want to hurt you. They don't want you to feel bad. They don't want to tell you that the kids make fun of you at the beach. They don't want to tell you that, because you have like the dirty, smelly house, like kids will overlook a lot of things. And dude, it's sad, but it's true, man. Like some homes, they just don't take care of it, and
I was
it's
just laughing
nasty.
at your adjectives, not the dirty, smelly house.
Just you think about it. I'm going back to my youth. There were a lot of times like we didn't have a dirty, smelly house, but like I was always in trouble. I was probably very trouble. Like I did a lot of stupid things. I don't follow rules too well.
You're a
I never
bad
have.
kid.
I was just a bad kid, but I was like, don't sleep. I'll sleep at your house. At my house, you're going to be in bed by like 7 o'clock. We're going to just be like knocked out. Cause if not, we're going to be in trouble. And so we would do that. And I was like, man, I started looking at other things when I gave up booze, when I started getting healthy, like when I was really dialing in being a father and making sure my shit was tight. I would look at it from the kids, like, well, what would they think? And so I don't yell. I don't I don't do the dad voice like anywhere near the way I used to do it, if at all. I obviously don't spank, but I'm not boozing. We're not getting crazy. Like we have a pretty normal house that's clean where everybody loves each other and is connected. And so I look at myself and that's when I'm like, all right, Zach, you're doing all right, man. And so when things get weird, I don't think like, oh, there's something wrong with me. I think, no, sometimes things are weird. And so it's not my behaviors always have to change. Sometimes when you're locked in, you can look at the world and you can see the things that are going on and you can ensure that, hey, I'm good. Because when you do have problems, when you are yelling at your kids, you are addicted to whatever, you come down on you almost immediately. Oh, I fucked up. Oh, I did this thing. Or you just get defensive. It's not by drinking. The holes in the wall, that's because you guys don't listen. Not my fault. Oh, okay. It's our fault you break things. It's our fault that you spent all of our money, gambling. That's our fault, right? Because we stress you out. It's just a defense mechanism you've built to protect yourself. And I think that you should lower those walls so you can feel that judgment from your kids so you can improve yourself.
Yeah, I mean, you have to. Right, to a certain degree, to become a better father, you have to.
Well, how else would you know which behaviors to change?
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, well,
you have to feel that. It sucks
Yeah.
to be like, oh, fuck,
Like you just
I
said.
shouldn't be doing this.
No, like you just said, right? Raising your voice, yelling, those are not good behaviors, right? It's not, those behaviors are not reflective of a good man, of a good father, right? Being hypersensitive and lashing out and yelling at your kids. And I would say that probably one of the greatest addictions that we didn't speak on is the addiction to power, right? How does that show up in the home
That's a good one.
with the father, right? Displaying behaviors where you abuse that power, right? Do this because I said, go there because I said. And it's destructive, right? It's destructive to the family environment. Imagine being a kid and being in that home and your parents are like, we love you so much. We care about you. Our family's the most important. But all they do is abuse their power over you, right? You're treated like a prisoner. So those are behaviors we need to change. We need to see them as a father. We need to reflect and be like, hey, man, this isn't who I want to be. This is not bringing anything good to my life. Same thing if it was alcohol, right? If you were getting drunk every night and passing out on the floor. I don't want my kids to see that. I don't want them to see me like that. It's the same thing with bad behaviors in parenting. If you have this abusive addiction to control and power, you have to let go of it. And you let go of it because you know that it's not providing any good to your kids. All it's teaching them is to submit, to be obedient, to really erase who they are. So they don't want to piss dad off. They don't want to make dad mad because dad can do really mean things to us. Dad can hit us. Dad can beat us. Dad can lock us in our room and we can't do anything about it. So just pointing out the obvious bad behaviors that I hear often. No, that need to change.
Sometimes I hear these like it's like a weight in the soul, and it's not because it's something we're living, but I think about the kids that are living that. There are kids thinking exactly what you just said, and I hate that. I fucking hate that because those kids did nothing to deserve it. That's a problem with the parent. It's a continuation of a cycle. They didn't heal from their pain, so they passed it on instead of facing it. But that's why we have conversations like this. Like this isn't something you listen to at lunch and you go back to work and you're like, yippee, I want to go give up some fucking habits. It's like, shit, man, I got to really look at myself. I've really got to evaluate myself. Well, look, we're men and we're constantly talking about, I've got to do the hard work. Strong men. I'm the king. All right, dude. Well, here's a great opportunity for you to look at your life and evaluate what the fuck you're doing. And if you're doing the hard thing, like objectively assessing yourself to be the best man you can be for your children and for yourself, it's about you. You have to fix your relationship with food, with booze, with power. You have to stop thinking that because you're not being a domineering man to your children, that you're a weak man. You got to stop tying those things together. Your self-worth is not tied to the amount of fear or obedience you command. It goes beyond that. But until you understand that, it doesn't matter, because you're going to be addicted to it. You're going to keep rolling along with that cycle. You have to face that. You have to understand that. And until you understand it, you need to shut the fuck up about being a fucking man and a king and a leader. And this is, again, Anthony, we keep talking about a better message. I cannot help it. It's a frustrating thing. We're supposed to say, hey, I'll show you the way, and this is how you have a better relationship with your child. But the reality is, weak men will not assess themselves. I would, if I were still sitting here, still drinking, if I was fat, if I was fucking poor, all these things, but I'm like, let's be a good dad. How the fuck would you follow me?
Yeah.
Why would you ever tune into this channel? Anthony, there's no way you would have worked with me. That's not how that shit works.
Yeah, man.
But as long as I'm telling myself I'm king, you're going to keep getting after it. No, man. Look at the people around you. Look at your kids. Those are great ways to assess where you're succeeding, or maybe where you need to take a look. But you got to stop with this saying, well, everything's all right, I'm perfect, I'm the fucking man, just because your kids will do what you tell them to do because they're scared. That is not loyalty. That is not, that's compliance. That's not somebody who, like, a true child looking up, like admiring, like, man, my dad works hard, I want to be like that. That's a great feeling to have, because you bust your ass and your kids are like, cool, like, keep going, dad, that's awesome. As opposed to, dad, I'm terrified to disagree with you.
Ooh. No, that was good, man. I'm glad we can pull those gems out of you from time to time. It's good. It's good to hear. The world needs to hear it, brother. But on that note, Oak and Rock Fatherhood, baby. Like, subscribe, stay tuned. We're going to be hitting you with some hard and heavy content. It's coming up. We got a great video dropping Monday with Brendan Murata. Excellent guest. And we're going to start getting some hard-hitting subjects. Oak and Rock Fatherhood, baby. Peace.